have Bruce live in the locker room in Tallahassee celebrating on the field with the Florida State. State 27 straight points for Clemson tonight. Like you said, you're not going to win games like that. It can't happen. And I don't know why. Like, we were able to run the ball so well in the first half, especially to the left side, and then all of a sudden we started to abandon it. And like I said, there is some inconsistency.
How are they going to approach this game? How are they going to beat this Florida State team?
Well, we're going to break you guys.
That's it. The show's over.
In the story, we're going to break you guys. Look, and I'm joking, but it's true.
Lord, the climb continues, KB. Oh my God!
I am sweating.
Look at my heart. Look.
You know what? Yeah, I understand.
That his roommate was drafted in the NFL. He's a very famous football player. I'm not going to name him. Oh, I remember his name. Jack Lambert. You ever heard of Jack Lambert with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Okay. Jack Lambert with the Pittsburgh. His roommate in college helped negotiate his deal when he was drafted.
All right, we are live. You're back with Seminoles Sideline 365, live right after the big victory to start the season. Florida State football, 45 to, I would say, 17. But it is 24 in that garbage time with our backups in. But dominant win in any fashion. Thanks for joining us tonight for this live post-game reaction. Hit the like button, subscribe, give us your comments. We're excited to be here and talk about the game and give our initial reactions to this, because I think this was a really a tale of two halves. But kudos to Nike Morvell, Jordan Travis, both sides of the ball, defense, offense. I think everyone, especially in the second half, that is the Florida State team that we expect to see this year. That is the team that is capable of winning the ACC and potentially playing for more. It literally was. I was very worried in the first half, because the first half did not look like a well-prepared team. It did not look like a team that was going to be capable of knocking off LSU, much less knocking off the likes of Clemson or any top competition. But then they proved me wrong, and they blew my prediction for this game out of the water, and I thought this would be a close game. I thought LSU would edge it out, but I was wrong, and I got proven wrong, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, because I would always take a Florida State. I'll always take a Florida State victory over having my predictions come right. So we'll go deep into it. But what are your initial thoughts coming right off the game and what you saw straight away?
Well, first of all, let's set the record straight. I appreciate your apology for not taking the Noles tonight. Who did take the Noles tonight? Me, the old man. I knew that. I said on our preview show, I said, without a doubt, we were the better team on paper. We were the better team on the field. We would be tonight, and we were. 100%. Now, especially in the second half, yes. Okay? The first half was things, I had a lot of thoughts, and I can be I can be critical, okay, of some things. No hugs, no kisses. But overall, it's a great victory. And as you said, the last 75-yard touchdown, that was a little deflating, because I don't like to see any team that I associate with give something up like that. I don't understand. I didn't see what defense they were in, but they should have been in a full maximum cover defense. And two guys missed the guy on the sidelines. I don't give a shit if they're backups or not. But forget that. Forget that for now. Yeah. This team showed up and showed out, especially in the second half. They did enough in the first half to keep themselves in the game, and then it got to the second half. They could have folded or played mediocre, but they did not. So whatever happened in that at halftime, whatever happened changed. And the biggest change, I wasn't concerned about us moving the ball as much. I was rushing the ball, and we'll talk about that. That's a little bit of a concern. But the defense, I was concerned how the defense would play.
Yeah.
But the rotation and the depth on the defensive line especially, I think started to show up in the second half, and they made the greatest adjustments that led to the victory of this game.
Yeah, I think to your point, second half adjustments were big in this game, and Florida State came out and they looked like a totally different team. I think my first half predictions for what I had predictions for the game were coming to fruition the first half. The defense was out of position a lot. The defensive backs were out of position a lot. Linebackers looked a little bit slow, and LSU was exploiting that. But the defense in the first half bent, but they didn't break, and that's what kept things going. Because once again, we saw the Johnny Wilson drop monster rear its head again. But then once again, he made big plays again. So that it's going to be the same thing this year. The guy's going to make a hell of a lot of great plays.
Yeah.
But he's going to have this drop issue. We just have to realize that that's going to happen. But what, like I said, I was getting back to is that the defense gave up a lot in the first half, but they found ways to prevent it from being big damage, from touchdowns, and they got turnovers they need. So it was they redeemed themselves in that regard. And they gave themselves the ability to play for the second half, and they did that admirably well. Now, could you say, where was Jared Verse? He made a couple of plays here and there. He had a solo sack on one of the plays. I know there was some. It looked like they were double teaming him on the edge and stuff like that a couple of times.
They didn't score that as a sack. That was called an incomplete pass.
You're right. But
I think if you look at the stats, I think that didn't go down to the stat. When is our pressure?
Yeah, but I don't know, but I think overall the interior defensive line played very well. You prevent a lot of their run game from getting going outside of Jaden Daniels doing a couple of things. And like I said, your defense did enough. They bent, they didn't break, and you gave yourself time to play for the second half and allow the offense to get back on rails. Because Jordan Travis, he towards that second quarter and that I don't know what that throw in the middle of the field on the goal line was.
It was a Brett Favre move trying to make something happen.
But he didn't do that a lot last year. And that scared me that, is he pressing too much? Is he trying to wield this game too much? But thankfully, luckily, at the halftime, he came back towards the end of the quarter and towards the end of, coming into the after half, he calmed down. He became what we expect from him, the leader, and he pushed the offense like we're used to seeing. And it was great to see that. And that's what we expect from him. That's what we expect from the fourth year guy that's been here. And I was so happy to see that. And you saw your weapons step up. You saw Keon Coleman. He's the guy. He is legit.
He's legit.
And that guy can. I'm not going to, but that guy can freaking play. That guy's a monster, and he is going to be the perfect complement to Johnny Wilson. That guy is. Oh God, I'm so.
Well, let me go on with what you're saying there. Is on Keon Coleman, and we're going to be all over the place here, but that's okay too. Is Keon Coleman is the real deal? Okay. Yeah. Now, what helps Keon Coleman is when you have a Johnny Wilson on the other side, you have a Jaheim Bell on the other side, you have Morlock on the other side or both sides. Yeah. As you saw, Keon Coleman, the catches he made, there weren't two guys out there that I saw. There was one guy. They can't double everybody.
Yeah.
So if you double Wilson or you've got to pay attention to the tight ends. Both Morlock and Jaheim Bell can catch the ball. Johnny Wilson can catch the ball most of the time. And now we know Keon Coleman is a dangerous threat. So you have to pick your poison. And so that's going to free up one of these guys. And Travis just has to figure out where the safeties are going. Once he figures out the safety's going, then someone else is one-on-one someplace across there. And you've got Teofili out of the background can peel off, and he catches the ball very well. So as we thought coming into the game, Florida State would have offensive weapons. A lot of people didn't think they'd score 45 points. I thought it would be 38 to 40 points,
Yeah.
So – and they were able to do that.
Last year, it was 24-23. It was not, so
the weapons are there, and it did not include the running game, even though we did get 100 yards, we got 100. We got 135 yards.
Big second half adjustment.
We got 135 yards. That started to wear down their defensive front. I don't think they have the depth that we have up front on the defensive line because we were doing rotations.
Yep.
We were definitely doing rotations. The experience of our guys gained last year on that line. You're talking about Briggs and Farmer and Pat Payton, and then you've got Brandon Fisk in there. You got Fabian Lovett. I think they all played pretty well, okay? I think they weren't gashed for a lot of yards up front, and they started to produce more pressure as the game went on. Now, one of the things when this game started, Florida State started off real fast, first possession they had. I'm sorry, they deferred, and so they sent out and they got a big stop. But if you look at defensively, as you said, we were shaky on the first three possessions. LSU started at their 25 and they took it all the way down to 4th and goal, and we stopped them.
Yeah,
that could have been 7 points.
It should have been 7 points.
We had good goal line defense in this game, and that probably was a key to victory. So the second time they got the ball, they scored a touchdown. Yeah. They could have had 14 points on the board on the first 2 drives. So I'm having some bad thoughts about Adam Fuller right then and there. And the linebackers, as you said, looked confused at times, and the defensive secondary looked confused. The first play of the game went for 55 yards when they beat a linebacker.
Yep.
So you're saying to yourself, whoa, what's going on here? And then the third possession they had, we ended up getting another stop at the 12-yard line of Florida State. We got another 4th down stop. They could have had 3 touchdowns in a row.
It could have been bad. And like you said, after that initial touchdown by Florida State, things kind of stalled out a little bit. You had a couple of tough drops, one by Johnny Wilson, I think another one by I forgot who dropped the other one, but these characters,
Jaheim Bell had one drop too.
Yeah, and that stalled the offensive side of things. And to your point, the defense, if the defense doesn't stand up there, now they gave up big plays, but if they don't stand up there in the red zone, this game could have been, you could have been having to climb out of 14 to 21 point hole going into halftime.
I don't know about you. I was excited to see the defense play in the second half. I really was. I still think I don't know if we weren't getting enough pressure or the defensive backs are a little bit weaker than we thought. I think they're going to work out some things. I think this was a big confidence builder overall for this defense, but we made plays when we had to make the plays. But this game, in some ways, could have been a little bit closer if those plays, the first 4 series, LSU has the ball if we don't make those plays.
Well, I think the thing in the second half, too, is why the defense played a lot better is that there was more balance. The offense took time on the field. They ate up more clock. They were able to sustain drives. And that gave the time for the defense to, get a breath, get themselves back together and adjust as well. Whereas in the first half, outside of a couple of those scoring drives, the defense was either hit or miss, or the offense was either hit or miss, and the LSU offense was on the field for a very, very long time.
They were. We only had the ball. We had the ball 6 possessions.
Yeah.
We had the ball 6 possessions. LSU had the ball 6 possessions, but we were down 17-14 at halftime. The second half, we get the ball on the kickoff because we had deferred up front. We have the ball a total of 6 times. The 6th was a kneel down. The 5 times we had the ball. The first time, field goal, good. Second time, touchdown to Keon Coleman. That was a touchdown. Third time, touchdown, Keon Coleman. The 4th time we have it, Jaheim Bell runs the ball in, touchdown, and then Bell again for a touchdown on the 5th time.
Yeah.
I mean, we scored every time we had the ball in the second half except for the kneel down on the 6th possession.
Yeah.
So we had a total of 12 possessions in the game and made the most of those opportunities. There was the ill-thrown ball by Travis in the first half, an interception. But other than that, he had a very big night. Jordan Travis had a very big night.
Huge.
Benson had how many total yards?
47, but it was efficient, and it was just, once again, it was sustaining drives in the second half. Like, he was fighting for yards, and they stuck to it. That was the biggest thing.
I think they made the decision at halftime. We have to run the ball.
That's what I said.
And they challenged the offensive line to run the ball and to be more dominant up front.
And that's what I said. And going into this game is that the team that can sustain the run and make them have to adjust to the running game is going to win this. And finally, Florida State was able. It wasn't a lot of yards. It wasn't like Trey Benson had a 100-yard game. When they were rotating a lot of guys in there. Toafili was getting some runs. We saw Jaheim Bell run the ball.
Rod Hill. Yeah.
So, but they were able to get 3 to 4 to 5 yard chunks finally. That opened up more of the passing game, opened up Jordan Travis to use his legs a little bit. And I think that was the difference. Is like you said, in the second half, they said, we're going to stick and we're going to make LSU respect our run game. Regardless if it's for 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, or 5, they're going to have respect. Their linebackers and their defensive backs are going to have to respect that we are going to run the ball. And Trey Benson is breaking some of those tackles. He ran hard, even in just 12 attempts. And he got 47 hard-earned yards and with a long of 14. But I think that was one of the big adjustments for the offense the second half. That took pressure off of Jordan to be able to say, I'm going to be able to hand this off, and then I'm going to have more open looks, like you said.
It was interesting. It was interesting. Jay Daniels, he didn't run the ball as much as I thought he would. And I'm not sure we had him contained as much, but he certainly didn't hurt us with his legs like he did last year. Okay. I thought he wasn't as effective with his legs, and Jordan Travis didn't run the ball as much this year, I thought, in this game. They both tried to stay in the pocket a little bit more, and I thought that was interesting. Now, we had trouble up front, especially in the first half, with Wingo. Wingo is a guy who's going to play on Sundays. He was a beast up front. He was probably the best defensive lineman in the game in the first half. I think he started to get worn down some in that second half, and I think their whole defensive line started to get worn down. Perkins, their linebacker, was really not a factor in this game, and I think in the secondary, they showed their youth and inexperience in the secondary, and we were able to take advantage of that. What I liked about our second half performance is we started to manhandle the Tigers. We started to really put our strength and lean on them, and they started to feel that because we had weapons on both sides. The rush was starting to take place, and we could throw the ball. So I think what really showed up and is going to be a problem for most of these teams, as I said, is they're going to have to figure out how do we cover all of these guys who can catch the football. And we had 3 drops in the game. Johnny had 2 of them. Jaheim Bell had 1. They didn't give any drops to LSU, and that's not right. I think Neighbors or Lacey had a clear drop. Yeah, and I don't see it in the stats that I have here, but they clearly had a couple of drops themselves. Yeah. But we're going to take this. It was a hell of a victory.
Absolutely.
It was the last touchdown they got was a joke. I'm not sure. I'm a little disappointed with that because I don't think you should ever have letdowns.
Then don't pull your starters out. Then don't say we're
going to. No, that's not true. We have enough backups, KB. There's KB. We shouldn't have had that big a drop off with our backups. They were confused.
Because they're freshmen going into the end of the game where they haven't played the entire game.
The pass was on the sidelines. 2 guys missed the guy. Yeah. But everybody's saying who gives a shit. Well, I think they'll figure that out. Okay. Knowles 99. How about those Knowles? You guys didn't pop up on my notifications. Like, you got to hit that subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Knowles. Hit the bell, and you'll know when we're on. Okay. You won't be surprised. Thanks for joining us tonight. Bethune's hit on Daniels. Oh my God. Yeah. That was great. Great hit. And I think the thing we have to clean up in this game, which shows up in big games, is penalties. The first half we had like 60 yards. What was the total penalty count in this game? 100 yards?
Ones, I think it was. Well, the stats are a little bit off on CBS on penalties, but I think there were
a lot.
They say 7 for 64 for Florida State, and then I think 6 of those were in the first half. I mean,
oh my God,
that was the most frustrating part to me. I mean, you had, I think on that one drive, you gave up 30 yards, 30 to 45 yards just
that was the third drive. That was the third drive.
That was the most frustrating point to me because this is a veteran team. That then I know some of these calls can be a little bit seductive, but some of those calls were very clear. The guy's out of bounds, you knocked him out of bounds. Like
now, the one call on the sidelines where who's the tight end for LSU? What's his name?
They ended up not calling that. They pulled that back though.
No, they didn't pull it.
They was finding up the sideline. They didn't.
No. He was struggling. He was trying to muscle his way along the sideline, and we came in, hit him, and they called that a late hit.
But they pulled it back though. They pulled that one back.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure because I was furious with them.
I was furious with that because the guy, the tight end was battling on the sideline. So, but we had too many. We had too many penalties. One was on verse, which coach let him know about that, but
that was on the hit. That was the first hit on the sidelines on the tight end, which they didn't end up calling. They called it originally, but then they overturned it and they didn't call it like it. But I would say all these were all, the good thing is that they mostly weren't procedural penalties. These were
they were aggressive penalties. They were aggressive.
It wasn't offensive holding for the most part. There was one illegal snap. Right. That's 5 yards. That's not going to be a drive killer. But yeah, you did kind of shoot yourself in the foot many times, both on offense and defense, on both sides of it, because you're giving them free yards. But the good thing is that your offensive line played great in regards to they weren't holding and bringing drives back on big plays, which is awesome to see. I think you had one, maybe I think on the receiver they called it offensive pass interference one time. But for the most part, it wasn't big.
That was on Johnny Wilson.
Yeah. And it's things you can clean up, like these late hits, stuff like that. I think a lot of that was just like being amped up. But as a veteran team, you got to be smart. I didn't like all the chirping in the first half. And it's just like, play the damn game. There's a lot of, back and forth and a lot of talk. And I'm like, you got to be aware that the refs, and I think they did calm down. After the first half, they calmed down, they locked in, and you didn't see those penalties anymore. Like everything got cleaned up after halftime, the adjustments were made. So, but it scared me because I think that's what kept LSU in that game. And I think maybe the difference could have been a lot larger because you could have allowed them to cash in a lot more on those opportunities by making those mental errors. Like that's something you can clean up though. Those are things that you can clean up. And I don't think that will carry on to the season, but I was disappointed to see that early on in the game, but you cleaned it up. And that was the great part. You cleaned up, you came out and executed it flawlessly in the second half. And some guys I'm going to point out here, looking at the stats and like just things that you want to say now, Mike Norvell, like what you thought before and was confirmed tonight. I mean, he did a hell of a job in the transfer portal. You saw Jaheim Bell have 2 touchdowns, right? And you saw Keon Coleman have 3. So that's 5 touchdowns for y'all for us tonight.
Yep. 2 new guys
between your 2 top transfers that you got into the program. This is why you got them in, because you scored 23 or 24 points last year. Now you got 45 points on this LSU team. That's a hell of an upgrade. And Keon Coleman, like I said, if they keep single teaming him in the end zone,
they're going to lose.
You're going to have like this play. This was just one of his.
He's got a lot of options, that's for sure.
One of his many touchdowns on the night, but he's going to do this to teams all season, especially the Syracuses and stuff like that. I mean, perfect pass, perfect catch, held on to the ball. I mean, he's going to be a nightmare for defenses in the ACC this year. It's unbelievable. And you got Jaheim Bell, who can, they had the double running back, double backs in the backfield, which, like they said on TV, was giving fits to LSU because you had the extra blocker. Or like you saw towards the end, they handed right off to him and he scores a touchdown, muscles his way into the end zone, which I'd love to see. So, those guys paid off for you. That's why you got them, which was great to see. Then you saw guys that you brought in last. You saw Deuce Spann on that play, which that play could have been disastrous, but he was a former quarterback. You put him in a perfect pass.
He threw a bullet. He threw a bullet, as the commentator said. He threw a perfect pass. He didn't get excited. He had to scramble like a quarterback, and he kept his eyes downfield. And he completed the pass, which was a big play at the time.
I think it was a third down. Too.
I haven't been a big fan of Deuce. He's a good kid. He hasn't found his way onto the field. But you know what? Coach Norvell and staff found a way to get him involved, not only in kickoff returns, but now in a trick play. So that's a big deal. Let's go back to Coleman for a minute.
Yeah.
What they're going to have to do now, every team's going to see this tape that they're going to throw this fade into the corner of the end zone. So they're going to be looking how to defend that. So if they start moving safety over there, you've got to practice this with Johnny Wilson, or you got to practice it with someone else who's going to go up and get the ball, because they're going to start looking for that.
I mean, they can, but you can do the same thing with Johnny on the other side. I mean, you saw Johnny Wilson make these types of catches last year. They can try. They're not going to be able. To your point, you said before. If they double Keon, they're going to leave Johnny open, or
you drag a guy across. You drag a guy across the middle. Yeah. You do something to disrupt, because the other teams are looking at that play now. Okay, they know that. So you start to counter that in a different way. Till Dog says, nice to have Spann as I think it's great for Deuce Spann. I think it's good for his confidence, and I think Norvell is keeping him energized. Energized in the game. You find a way to put him in, and I bet you before this season's over, as a kick returner, you're going to see him break some big kicks, because he's got the speed to do it. Bell knocking people on their butts. Absolutely. Especially that last one. He made a statement. That picture is going to show up. And I'm sure the LSU sites are talking about it, about what happened tonight. So this LSU team, they played a tough game. Let's give them some credit. Okay. They stayed in it most of the game, but the second half, they lost something. I don't know what it was they lost, but they didn't make adjustments, or they just were not in this game in the second half. They just weren't there.
I think it was a mixture of all the things that you said. I think it's a mixture of depth, and I think it was really that. I think it was depth and adjustments, and I think Florida State made the right adjustment. LSU is, like you said, they have a lot of talent on their team. They're number 5 for a reason. They went to the SEC championship last year, and they returned a lot of players. And they brought in a lot of great transfers. But I think, to your point, is that they had a lot of opportunities that they did not cash in the first half, and they missed an opportunity. And then Florida State came back. Yeah. They came back in the second half, and they fixed those problems. They fixed those problems, and they went back to what their Florida State is good at. And we cash in on our offense. We cash in on all of our offensive opportunities, and the defense locked down. And that was the difference in this game. LSU did not cash in when they could have, but Florida State did when they could have in the second half.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. The Tigers left points on the field. They didn't put on the board. Yeah. And I'm sure Coach Kelly in the press conference will be talking about that they didn't get it done on those when they had various opportunities to push the ball in from the goal line. Yeah. It wasn't just one shot. They kept getting shut down. That's probably some of the best goal line defense I've seen from a Florida State team in years.
Yeah.
In years.
Lundy making a big play when they had him blitz from the linebacker position to make that. There was, like you said, there was some.
And I thought it was interesting that I was looking carefully, and maybe somebody can tell me I'm wrong, but Braden Fisk, he's a huge man. Braden Fisk is a huge man. He was not in on the goal line stances that I could see. He was not in there, which is interesting of that, why he's not. Mm-hmm. But the people they had in there, and let's shout out their names. For all night long, they battled Briggs, Farmer, Fisk, Lovett, Payton, Edmond, DJ Lundy, Bethune, and the rest of the secondary. They played their butts off.
Oh, they did.
They played their butts off. They weren't perfect. They weren't perfect, but they played their butts off. Wingo got neutralized. He did.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. And like you said, Florida State, that's the biggest advantage of this team finally, is that they have a ton of depth. Like you said, it wasn't a huge sack game.
It was a depth game.
But it was a depth game. They were able to put fresh bodies in at multiple positions, especially on the defensive line, which he couldn't do 2 years ago. Or maybe. And
I tell you what, I think Norvell outcoached Brian Kelly tonight.
Oh, 100%, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I think he outcoached him. I think they like you said, on the adjustments, they used a lot of different alignments, which probably confused the young defensive secondary, and the weapons overwhelmed them. Let me ask you this, KB.
Yeah.
Our offensive line, what grade would you put on our offensive line tonight?
Tonight?
Yeah.
I would say
And you can break it down by half or not.
Yeah, I'd say in the first half it was probably like a C+ to B-. I think that they let a couple of free rushers go, and I don't think outside of the first drive or two, I don't think Jordan Travis was very comfortable in the pocket, and the run game really couldn't get churning. They was on multiple occasions there was guys in the backfield, but I did think as the game went on and maybe guys got tired, I think the offensive line came to life and they started to establish their will in the game. And I think in the second half, they were probably a B+. I think they were very, very solid, especially on some of those bigger plays. They were dominant on the offensive line. They could open up room. They could push the line up, and they allow guys like Benson to get those runs, allow Hill to get open lanes. So I absolutely think that in the first half they struggled, and that could just be first year, new guys in there, new transfers playing on the line, adjustments there. Where it was, and you're playing, like I said, we're not playing, some no name school that doesn't have talent on defensive line. So it's some of that too. But I think first half is probably a B-, and then second half they establish more of their will. And I think once again some of that depth too. A B+ in the second half, and I think they did very well in the second half.
I think that's fair. My insights are like yours on the first half. I was concerned. I saw a lot of defenders running wild, and Jordan didn't look comfortable. He couldn't just stand in the pocket and pick people out.
Yeah.
He was kind of running around. And in the first half, and I was concerned about that. Plus, we had no rush yardage.
Yeah.
So we weren't physically handling the business up front. Yeah. And like you said, we're playing a decent team with decent talent. Okay.
I would say above decent. I said the wrong word. Yeah, good team. A good team.
You're playing a top 20, let's say top 20 team.
Well, they're top 5. They're ranked.
Well, I know they were top 5. I mean, the early ratings don't mean a lot, but you're playing a top 15 type talented team.
Yeah.
And I thought we didn't look physical in the first half. The second half, I think we did start to wear them down, and that showed our strength and our ability. And I don't know how many guys were rotating on the offensive line. I couldn't really tell from the TV, or how many snaps. We'd have to look at a snap chart, which we don't have right now. Yeah, but I think we looked better offensively on the line in the second half, and I was glad to see that. I think that line will grow. I didn't see any major injuries on this squad out of this very physical game, and that's a big deal.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. And you know what I didn't like though at the end is when Jordan Travis lowered his shoulder and the game was over.
I love that. I love that. That's putting the game away. That is a definition of putting the game away.
The game was already over. I'm talking about in the second half, the final plays of the second half, and the final touchdown drive.
But that's what a leader does. He's like,
I understand that.
I push forward. I'm going for the first down. I'm putting my body on the line for this. And
I understand. Listen, I understand the physicality of it and the leadership showing that physicality. But what if he dislocated his shoulder?
It's football. Shit happens. It's don't play then. He knows the risk.
No, but the game's over. It wasn't like the game was on the line. That's all. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. But to me, it was almost unnecessary. You could have had Tate Rodemaker in there to finish the game.
No.
Okay. I'm just pointing out. We're pointing out things that are good. We're pointing out things that gave me a concern. That was a concern.
One thing,
because I've seen how many games have you seen where a player shouldn't even be in the game? The NFL does this all the time too. Is they shouldn't be in the game and the guy gets hurt.
Okay.
Well, that's all.
I knew the old man would talk about Travis going hard and lowering his shoulder. Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was unnecessary. I thought it was an unnecessary risk. And I think the coach will talk to him about it.
He's a competitor.
Okay. Well, you can be a competitor, but we got a game. We're going to be undefeated going into the Clemson Death Valley. And we need Jordan Travis on the field for that game. Well, we have a chance now.
He didn't take a lot of hits tonight. They played him well. He didn't take
a lot of hits. Why would he take an unnecessary hit on the sideline when the game is not even in question? That's all. That's all.
One thing I thought they did well in the second half too.
If anybody out there is listening, you agree with me on that, put the comment down. Agree with the old man, agree with KB.
One thing they did, I think.
Are you running that play now?
No,
No.
I'm not running that play now.
Okay.
One thing they did well, I think, to help with the offensive line was roll Jordan out a lot more. I felt like
usually you do that because you're getting pressure in the pocket.
Exactly. So
you have to roll away from the pressure.
So that and it throws some off balance on the defensive line. And I thought this was just a great play. The play calling was so good in the second half. Mike Norvell called a hell of a game in the second half, and this was just another example of that. Just rolling him out. You had confusion, Jakeem Bell, and he just that athleticism to be able to run down.
Look at him run.
He can run. I mean, that guy, and that's once again why you brought.
Well, let's talk about the influence of Kyle Morlock. I didn't think he would play that much, to be honest with you. He was in the game the whole game.
Well, he's listed as a starter.
Yeah, he's another tall receiver. He caught 2 balls. He was targeted twice, and he caught both balls. I think you're going to see him play a bigger role too. So you got Bell, you got Morlock, you got Coleman, you got Wilson, you got Winston Wright caught a ball. You've got Teofili out of the back. You've got the weapons. All you need is the quarterback to deliver the ball.
And he did. And he did the second half perfectly. Thank you, Knowles 99, for agreeing with me. I appreciate that.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Was it the play calling or the play execution? I think it was a mixture of both. Yeah.
Both.
There was no drops.
You have to have both.
But I think you said it was a mixture of both.
Outside of Wilson's 2 drops, it's almost like a perfect game on offense. I mean, we scored every time we had the ball in the second half.
Second half was perfect.
That's 100%.
I think second half was perfect.
That's crazy.
I can't recall anything on the offense that they could do better.
Right. And when you look at the passing of Jordan Travis, what was his percentage? It was over 70%.
He was
complete 74%.
Yes, 23 for 31 for 342 and 4 touchdowns and an interception.
But more importantly, 74% completion rate. The one INT was a bad decision.
Yeah, and that's why he looked. For some reason, the whole team was discombobulated in the first half, and then he slowed down.
Pressing.
And he slowed down. He got back on track, and we saw what we expected from Jordan Travis. Because
he'll see that on tape, and he'll say, "Yeah, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. There's no reason to give up the ball." Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because Jordan is a ball player and pops, and Jordan seems to make very good decisions. Yeah, I agree. And it was out of character for him to make that throw in the first half and make that second throw on the goal line, which could have been disastrous. But luckily,
that could have been intercepted for 7 points.
But we don't have to think about it. It didn't happen, and the defense did its job, and they negated a lot of the bad things that could have happened based on some of those decisions.
And I can't imagine. I want to say that I don't think the Clemson Tigers are going to be better than LSU, but we'll see. I mean, our defense, we need to see our defense get their act fully together, fully together over the next couple of ball games, which means we'll go in there undefeated. There's no reason this team doesn't go into Death Valley undefeated now. And Clemson likely will be undefeated because they're not playing anything too tough, right? They're playing tomorrow night now. We'll get to see Clemson against Duke, which will be an interesting game.
I mean, Duke was a 10-win team, so
Duke is a well-coached team. They don't have the talent, but they're well-coached and they do the basics very well. So that'll be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah.
But this team, Florida State now, has sent a statement across the country nationally, and this was a statement. Even the commentators said that. This is a statement that's being made. The question now is stay focused, one game at a time. Now you go home, you celebrate, and you get ready for Southern Mississippi, who's 1-0. Okay. Now they didn't beat anybody.
I don't think we need to go down that rabbit hole yet.
No. I'm just saying it's a focus, one game at a time through this entire season, and you could have a very, very good season. You do still have some good teams on this schedule.
Here's my favorite. I think my favorite play of the game. The first half. Even the first half was one I'd like to probably forget. I think this will be on the highlight tapes for a while. For Florida State football, was the I know. You talk about
Damn.
you talk about quarterbacks being safe. Well, this was not a good decision by Jaden Daniels.
Why would you jump in the middle? I know he's trying to show he's going to get over everybody and go for a touchdown. Not a good move. This is how you end your season. Now, why are the referees talking to Bethune on this one? I don't get it.
He kind of held.
No, I know, but he's lecturing him. This guy was a free. Just nailed him.
That was so good.
And I'm sure Tatum will be putting that on his highlight film for the next level, right?
I sure hell would be.
Yeah.
Alex, love to see you guys are back from Vegas. I was not in Vegas. I wish, Alex, but
I will be in Vegas next week. Be in Vegas next week.
Alex, we love to see you here, so we appreciate it. The line.
Oh, wait a minute, Alex. I was in Uruguay and I was in Argentina, so I was away, but I was monitoring. If you have our Twitter feed, if you have our X feed.
Yeah, I think the O-line, like I said, I think it was decent to above average in the second half. First half, I want to rewatch the game to see, but I think they obviously could have done better. But there's some new pieces being thrown in there. But they did enough to win the game, and they did it in a dominant fashion. So in the second half, they did their job very, very well. 5 touchdowns, 5 drives, or 5 scores and 5 drives. So I can't complain. In the second half, they played lights out. First half, I think they could have improved on some things, and that's where I think schematically they may have adjusted some things and played against that defensive line better. So I can't complain.
So yeah, I'm still a little concerned that Jordan couldn't just stand in the pocket more. That like you said, they were either being rolling him out, or he was moving around a lot. He couldn't just sit there, like Tom Brady does, and he didn't. There was a lot of pressure. Now the question is, can we clean up that pressure? Well, we will against Southern Miss, and we will against Boston College. We'll clean that up. We're going to score big points in those games, and we're going to manhandle those 2 teams. Yeah. So I don't know. I think the offensive line, in my opinion, gets a B. Probably a B minus.
It has room for growth, absolutely. And I agree, Nelson. I would be kind of pissed if you beat Clemson, because I do want to see that top 10.
I don't. I think it helps us if they get beat. So why not?
I want to beat Clemson at the top. I don't want to beat a declining Clemson. I want to beat them when they're hyped.
They're not going to be declining. Who said
if they
they're
lose
declining?
to Duke, then they are not who they should be.
Hey, it's one game. You said that about Colorado. Well, it was a 1-game victory.
It's a 1-game victory. Same with Florida State. Same with Florida State. It's a 1-game victory. We have to win out. We have to continue to win.
I think our youth, Dagby. I think our youth that we had last year on that defensive line, Farmer, Peyton, Edmond was even in the game. These guys have matured, and you're going to see them. We're going to see this rotation of about 8 different linemen, defensive linemen, edge rushers, constantly through the year. And that's how you wear teams down. Yeah. You constantly wear them down. Yeah. And I thought Brandon Fisk, I was watching him a lot. He was on the field a lot. He played a lot of reps, and I thought he held that middle up. He got some pressures. I thought they all did.
LSU basically abandoned the run.
Right.
They only had 12 total runs in the game, and
they had 100 yards plus.
Well, Jaden Daniels had 64 of those, and then the other one was 35 yards on 1 run. So once again, these are explosive plays. Jaden Daniels, he had 1 run of 40 yards, and then their running back had a 35-yard run. So they had 75 yards on 2 different runs, and that's it. I mean, so essentially they couldn't consistently run the ball like we could in the second half.
What I thought was interesting, KB, too, is the LSU fan base did not really turn out for this game.
I think Florida State just fought out everything that was possible.
Well, I mean, LSU had.
I don't know what else.
No, LSU had. Now, I will say this, and I'll say this to all fans, including Florida State fans that were there. It's quite an expenditure to go to a game, and we know that economics are tightening up, across the country nationally. So for a group to travel in and spend the money. It's tough. So I'm not going to rag on LSU not turning the fans out as much. But for Florida State, this was basically a home game. This was a home game. We've now won, I think, 11 straight games in Camping World in Orlando. Orlando, Jacksonville, that's kind of a home game for us. So in this regard, but we had that stadium packed, and you could tell. Even what's his name, Kirk Herbstreit said, "I've got to film this. I've got to film this and get the, I haven't seen this in a while." Yeah. And it's very, very true. So what a brilliant night! What a brilliant night this was.
To your point, fans showed out. Kudos to them for showing out. Great atmosphere, and I do think that may have played into some of those early miscues and maybe over tackling and stuff like that. Because I do think the crowd noise and just the amped up momentum just may have played into some of those emotions early on for the team. So, but like you said, it was a great atmosphere. I wish I could have been there. It looked amazing.
Yeah, and it's an expense for all our fans to show up. So a shout out to the fans that could go. And it's quite an expense, but what a great experience you had. One thing that you'll always remember, I always remember all the games I've been to, KB does too, is you remember games. And it is. Now, watching it at home, yeah, it's pretty damn comfortable, no doubt. But being there in the crowd, especially for a big win like this, you'll always remember that.
Yeah, and Jalen, I think that's totally correct. When he threw that interception on that receiver fell, and we picked that one. I do think that's when it flipped, and then we cashed in on that opportunity. So that was the theme for the second half. We cashed in every event.
Yeah, Ronaldo Green. That's the one Green picked.
Right, he made a great play on that ball. The receiver fell, but he made a great play on that ball.
Yeah,
and then offense goes down, punches it in. That was, like you said, I think that was the big flip the switch moment, and we didn't let go of the momentum from there. And the defense fed off of that. That was huge.
Was there anybody? Okay, go ahead. No, was there anybody on Florida State's roster you thought would be in this game that you did not see in this game?
I thought we would see potentially, because based on the depth chart, I thought we would see the kid from Penn State.
Who
came in last year. So
it's
escaping. It's been a long day. So Keziah. I thought we'd see Keziah, and actually Rodney seemed to get snaps over Keziah, and that's contrary to what the depth chart would tell us, right? So I don't know. So I thought we may see Keziah get some few snaps here and there. So we didn't see him, which I thought was a little bit frustrating. Great to see Winston Wright get a catch in the game, his journey to come back. You saw Destin Hill get targeted. He dropped. Technically, I think that was a drop ball by him. It was a tough catch. That
was a tough ball.
But
the defender put his arm right up through his hands too. I think that was a tough call.
But it was great. Who could have thought we would see him in this game 6 months ago, right? We didn't even know if he would be on campus. But Destin Hill was in the game and getting reps. One person I didn't hear his name called tonight, which I thought was very surprising. And once again, it speaks to the depth. No Kentron. Then that's the state of what football is, college football is, right? Talent's here. There's this team is loaded with receiving core, and he really just didn't get an opportunity to play, or get his call name today. But it will. That you always have to be prepared, because if one gun, Coleman had a cramp, and that could have been bad. He may not have played in the second half, so. That's why you have this depth. And I hope those players stay engaged. They stay locked in. They build packages or build opportunities for these kids. They stay locked in, because they're one play away from being next man up, right? So, we didn't get his name called tonight, but I do think he'll have opportunities.
I think he'll show up on the charts in the next couple of games. Yeah. I do. Yeah. I don't want to say it's going to be in mop-up duty, but I think they're going to find ways to get – you know what? There's a lot of mouths to feed in the receiving core between the tight ends and the wide receiver. There's a lot, and it's hard. And I think Jordan Travis is going to try to move the ball around, but he's going to take whoever's open. That's his job. His job is to find who is open, who's got the one-on-one.
8 different people were targeted tonight with balls, and I think 7 of them caught. So 7 different receivers caught balls tonight. So they were spreading the ball around. Like you said, Kyle Morlock caught a ball tonight.
2 balls. Two balls.
But I would just say he caught a ball tonight. With Jaheim Bell, obviously caught balls tonight, or was in the offense. I don't know if he caught 2 balls tonight for 49 yards and a touchdown. Lawrence Toafili was involved in the catch. He was involved a lot. Toafili got but so I think that was the answer to one of my questions was, who's going to fill the Trayshawn Ward kind of hole in this running back room.
And Ward had a decent day yesterday.
Oh, well, I love Ward. He's
50 yards. Really I think he had 50 yards for Kansas State.
I wish
a touchdown.
He's a really good player. I like him. And I thought, and he was the leading rusher last year, right? So I was like, who's going to fill Trayshawn Ward's role in this offense? And, that's not necessarily was Toa Philly, but he was the guy that started rushing tonight, and he had 20 yards and 6 carries tonight. And he got the first carry of the game. But it'll be interesting to see how much more Rodney Hill. I like him a lot.
He's a banger.
He's physical. Banger. He likes contact, and I think he's going to start to get a little bit. And he's shifty. He's got some shift to him. So I'm excited to see if he gets a little bit more playing time in that role as well. But you saw Wall get spread out a lot, which was great. And Winston Wright, like I said,
love it.
Great seeing Winston Wright getting in the game and getting that.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we haven't mentioned. Special teams, and we need to mention that our special teams did not make any mistakes that I remember. Okay, first of all, hats off to field goal kicker, right?
Yeah, he did his job.
Fitz did his job. Extra points. He had a lot of opportunities there, and he kicked a field goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He got a field goal.
1 for 1.
He's 1 for 1. He kicked all the point after. I think we had one bad kickoff. We had one bad kickoff that went out of bounds, and they got the ball up.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was one. I think we had one bad kickoff, and but otherwise, all the kickoffs went into the end zone. We didn't have any big returns, which are scary plays. Special teams on punt. The punting game went well. We covered, and we covered well. So.
Yeah. To your point, like you said,
I'd give that an A. I'd give that an A.
100%. Fitz his job. Coleman on that first kick return, he probably could have tried to come up and prevent rolling backwards.
Yeah. Instead of went to the one. Yeah.
Didn't drop the ball. No muff punts. No, in terms of
receiving. And LSU had a muff.
And that's, one of those things, that was in the first half again, off their punt, and then you get the interception right after that.
They made a lot of mistakes. They made too many mistakes in a big game for LSU to win the game.
Well, I'm saying for Florida State, too, that could have come back to cost them. When you don't cash in those opportunities in the first half, that will screw you in the game against Clemson.
Right.
You have to do those things. And once again, you can correct these things. They corrected them in the second half. But if you dig yourself a hole against Clemson, you may not be able to get out of it. So I'm glad that they just in the second half, they came back and they learned from it, which is great to see.
Exactly right.
Seals will get the rotation. Cetrus will have to make their catches. Exactly. Like you said that, if a guy comes in, he doesn't make his catches, next man up, right? You said. But I think, like you said, they'll make packages. You saw Deuce Spann package tonight, which is great. They'll use the guys to their best abilities. I'm assured that Atkins and Norvell are going to use the talent in this room to the best of their abilities. I don't think anyone gets preferential treatment in this offense, maybe except for maybe Keon Coleman because he's a top-tier weapon. But I think all those guys are going to have opportunities to make plays in this offense. Or they would have told them to go elsewhere. I literally believe that they would have told them to go elsewhere if they weren't going to get any playing time here. So I definitely agree with that. Holmes told Philly can film for Ward. Johnny Wilson stepped up on Thursday down. Great point. He did. Second half, he was like a new man. But that's Johnny Wilson. He's going to make some big plays this year.
But how does that look to the next level?
Well, I immediately thought in my head, he's not. In my head, I was like, he's not a first rounder because he's got these. He's got questionable hands.
Right. And he's not going to get that. And if he'll get drafted, there's no doubt. I don't think it's going to be first round. It may be third round, it may be fourth round. He's going to get an opportunity to go to a camp. There's no doubt about that. The question is, if he starts dropping passes in camp, he'll get cut right away. I mean Cam McDonald went to Green Bay camp. He didn't even get into a preseason game. He was cut before the preseason started. But
two different players.
I'm just saying, my statement is it is a tough business. But the pros will look at his potential. They'll look at the catches he does make, but they're also going to raise an eyebrow about the drops. Even the commentators are aware that, they are even aware he has drop problems. That comes up on their lineup sheet. This guy's got some drop problems. Okay. And so it's something that hopefully Johnny can it's the easy catches, as they say. He makes the tough catches.
He does.
It's the one that's right in his hands, right there.
And like I said, he's looking up. Is he looking up field? Like what? Why is it? Is he?
We're not saying it's easy, Johnny. We're just saying we want you to do to look the best you can, and I'm sure he does too. So he'll work on it. I'm sure
he's that piece from being like an elite receiver. That is the one piece, that inconsistency with his hands.
And he had that at Arizona State. He had that problem.
Yeah. So I hope he can figure that out. I thought, that maybe would be. I mean, maybe it will in season, but he's still a great player. But that's the thing that's holding him back from being elite in my eyes. But he made some big plays in the second half. Once again, everyone did.
He went over. Didn't he go over 100 yards?
Yeah, he had 100 yards. Keon Coleman had 100 yards. So, Johnny had 7 for 9, 9 targets, 104 yards, no touchdowns. Keon Coleman was 9 for 11, 122 and 3 touchdowns. On the night. So big night for both of them. They both played to their potential tonight.
Char, I'm glad Fitz made his field goal. Yeah, that's a big confidence booster for a kicker. A kicker, remember Roberto Aguayo?
Yeah.
Once he got in his head, he couldn't kick it through the goal anymore. He was done. He was gone. It's unbelievable. It's like golf. If once it gets in your head, you can't make the shot or you can't make the kick. It's very difficult to get out. So for Fitz, it was a very big kick, and I think he'll have some big kicks coming up this season.
Yeah, Johnny Wilson reminds me of Mike Evans. He does.
Yeah, he does.
The body type and the way he plays, absolutely.
And Mike Evans will drop a ball now and then.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. That's a very good comparison. Yeah. Why couldn't we play the first half? I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know if it was just the moment. I don't know what it was, but sometimes it just takes adjustments against who you're playing against, and I think everyone says this. Football's a game of adjustments, and whoever makes the best adjustments typically wins the game if you have similar talent. Sometimes talent can win out, but the team who makes better adjustments throughout typically comes out on top. And I think Mike Norvell, to what you said, old man, is that I think he outcoached Brian Kelly tonight in many different ways, especially in the second half. And that's why they came out on top. My question is, how far will the Noles jump in the AP rankings? A couple of spots, maybe they'll go to number 5, maybe number 6. Once again, but for me, I don't think it really matters because the biggest next target, you go week to week, but your biggest next target on your schedule is Clemson. You got to take care of Southern Miss. You got to take care of the little things. But if they don't take care of business at Clemson, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're number 5 or number 6. They got to take care of the little guys week after week, and then they got to take care of it. Or it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's one game at a time.
Yeah.
And I think Norvell, is pretty good about keeping a team focused. Nobody can beat us unless we beat ourselves. All we have to do is go out and execute. We don't care if it's a team we've never heard of or a national contender. Don't worry about playoffs. Don't worry about winning the championship. Worry about beating the team quarter by quarter that you're playing. And there'll be some times maybe when we're down. How do you respond when you're down? Ja'Kai, I don't know what Ja'Kai's injury is. Yeah, I don't know what his injury is at this point. But he's the only guy I'm aware of that has an injury coming into the game. Yeah. I guess, so at this point, we're very lucky at this point of where we stand on that. But sometimes you don't find out about injuries to maybe after the game as well. But what a terrific night for the Noles in this program.
Great night.
Terrific night for Norvell and the coaching staff, all the hard work that's gone in from the people you don't see in the front office on working the portal, working high school recruiting. That stuff's going on constantly. Yeah. Just because we're now playing this game, there were a lot of recruits on the sideline. That, of course, they didn't get talked about. But there were a lot of people there who are being recruited by Florida State, wanted to be at this game. They were on the sidelines, and they saw this team in action now.
Yep.
And so, kids that are 4 and 5 stars want to play for winners. They don't want to play too many rebuilds. They want to play for the winners. And so this was a recruiting game as well.
Also for transfers too. So because
for transfers. For transfers.
You're going to miss 80% of your offense is leaving next year. So,
and there's going to be a lot of available playing time for new kids on this team. Now, we don't even need to talk about 2024, but this team's going to look totally different, I think.
But let's enjoy this. Let's enjoy this year. Let's enjoy this win.
Exactly.
And, we look forward to Southern Miss next week. So, I think that's it. You have any more big thoughts or lingering thoughts?
No, I'm just very happy. I feel it's funny. This is funny. Ever since we started doing these programs, I'm more focused on the game and my notes. I got notepads of notes. I used to get so excited and rambunctious. Well, I'm a little bit older now too. Yeah. But, do you feel that way when you're watching the game? You're more analytical now?
A little bit.
Or you get a little bit of both?
I get a little bit of both. I think you're more like
I got pages of notes and stuff.
I just feel sick to my stomach until the game's ended. So that's mainly it for me.
Well, I'll tell you, we're cruising. We're cruising to the Clemson game now, and I expect this team to continue to roll. And we're going to see what Clemson's got tomorrow night. Yeah. I think they're going to have to put it out. They're not going to be able to put the brakes on. They're not playing some FBS team. So
it'll be a good measuring stick. So definitely tune in for that. I'll be watching some of that just to see what they're all about, see this new quarterback of theirs and see what he looks like. And it'll be a little bit of preview. Because like you said, it's not a cupcake and by far for them, but if they blow them out, then we know that they're back to where they should be. And last question, how far should LSU drop in the rankings in y'all's opinion? Well, once again, numbers are abstract, but I still think this is a good LSU team. I just think it's a really good Florida State team. Two great teams met. And Florida State played better. They adjusted better. They called a better game. I still think LSU's going to probably win 9 games this year. So I think they should probably drop out, maybe number 10 or 11. That would be my guess. It may be out of the top 10, right out of the top 10. Maybe between that 10 and 15 range would be my opinion. But what do y'all think? What do you think, old man? I mean, Colorado may be in the top 15 by, who knows?
I think that LSU is a well-coached team. I think they're a talented team. I don't think they were better than this Florida State team. I've been saying that all month, and I've been saying that. I think Florida State is talented in more ways, and they showed up tonight, and they showed that talent, especially in the second half, as we've said over and over again. Brian Kelly is going to fix the issues. I think the LSU fan base will be a little bit disheartened of what they saw tonight as they came into this game as a revenge game. They thought they should have won last year. So they thought this year they'd show, well, see, this is the real LSU Tiger team. Well, they've got some problems they need to fix. Yeah. And it'll be interesting. I like following how teams do. And what we have to hope is LSU wins out.
Yeah.
Because when you're going for a playoff run with only 4 teams in the playoffs, every team you beat, you have to hope they go undefeated after you beat them. Yeah. So we wish LSU the best of luck. They're a fan base. We have just a really healthy rivalry with them now. It's not a long-term rivalry. It's not a hate basis like with the Gators or Miami or even Clemson, right? LSU's not in that window of we hate you type thing. Their fans, I'm sure, are really good fans as well. Yeah. But they've got some things to fix.
Yeah. Sure.
They had some drops too. I don't know why on the stats I have they showed no drops. Neighbors had some drops. Lacey had some drops. And those are their 2 big receivers.
Exactly.
Yeah, outside their tight end that's still developing. But those guys really weren't a factor in this game. They weren't a factor. So I don't know. I think they'll be down probably. I think between 10 and 12 is probably a good range for them.
Yeah.
Florida State probably could bounce up 2 numbers. Depending, the rest of the weekend, everybody else kind of won, that was supposed to. But this is a quality win. This may be in the top 10, the best quality win of the weekend, right?
Yeah. I mean, rank-wise, probably.
Yeah, ranking-wise. So that could give us an instant lift up. LSU will not be ranked ahead of us. We know that for sure.
Yeah, one thing on that, like you said, in terms of the shutdown, the receivers, their big play receivers didn't go off tonight. And that's something we can dive into more next week and talk about. But I thought Fentrell Cypress, and I want to dive more into this, but as a new guy in defensive back starting for the first time for Florida State, they put him on the island. Adam Fuller put that guy on an island. They did. And the announcers kept saying, like, safe. There's no safety help. There's no safety help.
Right.
And he gave up some stuff underneath, stuff like that. But I think for the most part, he didn't get exploited on one-on-ones in the end zone. So I think Fentrell played pretty well. And I think that's something that we'll see a lot more against other teams. They're going to put him on one-on-one matchups on that island, and he's going to be asked to do that job. So, and I think
you remember when the game was still close,
yeah,
and they kept saying they're putting him out there one-on-one, and they kept throwing it into the corner of the end zone. I was a little shocked too when it happened for like the third time, because I said he's gonna catch one of these.
Yeah,
you can't keep doing that. And if that would have happened, I would have been very upset at Fuller. Yeah, to be honest with you, I thought maybe they went twice and they were going to come back to it again because they thought they could beat him. Yeah. I thought they'd move a safety over just to confuse the matter too, Absolutely. And so for Cypress, what great film to go to the next level with.
Absolutely.
Because in the NFL, most of the time you get mostly a lot of one-on-one stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Old man, where are your victory glasses?
Yeah, listen, I'm still on the road. I've been on the road a lot. So all my prop gear is still back at the big studio.
All right. And then last question before we go off tonight is Jordan Travis, dark horse for the Heights. I don't like to talk about these things, but I don't think he did anything tonight that would not put him on the course to be in the conversation for it. I think in the first half, I was like, okay, all the talk needs to stop about this, because I thought he was going to play like this for the rest of the year then, but he redeemed himself. He came out and looked like the guy we expect him to play like. And so
I think it's too early. I think it's too early. It's so early for any of these guys.
He did not do anything. He didn't hurt himself. He played like he should, and he led them to a big victory. So let the conversation continue. But I think he's focused. This team is focused. And they're on to Southern Miss, and as we should be. So keep that in mind. Next week,
join us.
Next week we'll have a preview show. We should be having someone on from Southern Miss who covers them and their football team. So join us for that next week. We'll have that on Thursday or Friday of next week before the game for a preview show. So join us next week. Like the show, share the show, subscribe. We appreciate y'all and your comments. Big win, big victory. Once again, 45-24 Noles win in Orlando. Bam. 1-0 to start the season, always a great way to start out. So thank you all for joining us. We will see you next week for the preview show of Southern Miss, and hopefully onwards to 2-0. Have a great one, y'all. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day Monday, and we'll see you soon. Take care, y'all.
Go Noles. Go Noles.